Hey guys, what's going on? Ghost Dragon 1182 here again, and I am playing Uncharted 1 on the Nathan Drake collection for the PlayStation 4. And when I bought a PlayStation 4, one of the first games I bought was the very first Uncharted, Drake's Fortune, and I liked it. It had some flaws. It had some technical issues. The frame rate hiccup in places, and there was a lot of screen tearing. But with subsequent releases in the franchise, most notably Uncharted 2, I really fell in love with the series. And especially right off the bat, the characters were very likable. Sully was just kind of like that cranky old uncle type of character. You had Nathan Drake, who was charismatic, but he was down to earth and kind of he had his faults. You know, he wasn't like this like super protagonist that had like no downfalls to him whatsoever. And Elena was very refreshing at the time because she was your typical, or she wasn't your typical like just female sidekick in the game. She was capable. Actually, the AI was programmed pretty well because I remember playing through it, and when she's with you in parts, I remember seeing her actually take out enemies, which was kind of strange. You know, most AI accomplices aren't very good at killing enemies. And it just kind of, that was like, I would say that was my first like very cinematic experience with a video game, because I mean it did very much feel like a movie at times, but not quite like say like more Metal Gear, where you had these very long cutscenes. But the adventure felt grand and spectacular, and it was very much like the Indiana Jones in a video game type of form, and it was very good. And I can see where the comparisons with Tomb Raider came from, but I mean, you weren't raiding tombs or anything like that. And at the time, the gunplay was much better than what was in a Tomb Raider game. It was kind of very Gears of War-ish, but I mean, it was fun. In the first game, there were some moments where like you'd go, and it's still present in the Nathan Drake collection, where you go to like duck behind cover or something like that, and Drake will stick to something you don't mean for him to try to get behind cover, and he'll end up getting shot a couple times, and he's still pretty squishy, but I mean, that kind of adds to the challenge of the game a little bit. But I was really impressed with what I've played so far of the Nathan Drake collection. I'm on like chapter 5 or so like that, and I mean, there's still some things that are present that were in the original game. The enemies still kind of flail about a little bit, and kind of go a little bit spastic when you shoot them. But I mean, all in all, it's a very solid HD remaster. It's at 60 frames per second. They put a lot of work into upgrading some textures and going through the game and things like that. And I'm not going to get into the details like Digital Foundry did, which very excellent comparison between the two games that they did. I highly recommend you check that out if you're interested in the technical aspect of it. But I mean, for the most part, if you played the original games, there's no surprises. It's a lot more responsive, obviously, because of the frame rate. The gunplay, they tightened it up a little bit. It doesn't feel kind of as sloppy as it did in the original game. How much of that has to do with the frame rate, and how much of it has to do with maybe a more generous auto aim, or just refinements in the in the engine that were made with Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 3. Uncharted 2, as far as the PlayStation 3 games, kind of always felt the best to me as far as the gunplay. 3 was it kind of had some of the shortcomings that 1 did a little bit. It just didn't feel as good. But this feels very solid. It doesn't have like any of the like little frustrations that would add up over the course of the game. And so far, I'm very, very impressed with the presentation thus far of the remaster. Now, before I come across like I'm kissing the game's ass or anything like that, let me state that I did have a couple, like some of the platforming still kind of jonky. I thought that I had a ledge leap lined up, and I ended up leaping to my death once or twice in a particular level. I know one time I screwed up and like leapt to my death, and there's a scene where a jeep comes out when you're traversing across like a broken bridge, and you blow up the jeep and it falls down, and then you kind of climb across it and continue about your way. And somehow I completely just it looked like he was facing the ledge I needed to jump onto, and off the waterfall he went, and that was a game over. And there was one other jump that I kind of fucked up like 3 or 4 times, and it was ironically the same places in the original PS3 version of the game where I had some kind of platforming bugs, or I don't want to say bugs, but like he's not a he doesn't always go where you think he's going to go, kind of like an Assassin's Creed type of scenario where you think like, okay, he's lined up for that ledge right there, and then, oh fuck, he's dead, you know. But you know, that doesn't take away from the experience. If anything, it may be boiled down to the fact that I'm not rushing through it, but I'm going through it a little faster than maybe most people would when it comes to some of the platforming bits. One thing I was surprised about is how much of the secrets I retained from playing the game the first time. I've found just most of the medals. I may have missed 1 or 2, or not the medals, the treasures. I may have missed 1 or 2 here and there, but all in all, it's very familiar and coming back to me. And this is a game I haven't played since probably a year or 2 after it released, and it's still a lot of fun. And I'm not going to get into spoilers, and I'm not going to do like a playthrough that I'm going to upload or anything like that, because apparently there's a lot of people that didn't play the Uncharted games, according to Naughty Dog. Which, if all I'm going to say is, right now, if you own a PlayStation 4 and you've never played these games, it's $60 for the Nathan Drake collection, and I highly recommend it because the promise of the original 3 games alone is enough to justify the price, because you're getting a lot of game for $60, because you're getting, basically you can think about it this way, you're getting each game for $20. And with the improvements that they've made with the graphics, the frame rate, they went through, touched up textures, like I said, it's a very, very well done remaster. It's very thorough, and one of the better remasters I've played. Some of them just feel like cash-ins, whereas this one feels like they're genuine in that they're trying to get people acclimated with the series and introduce them to the characters and what's going to be happening in Uncharted 4. For people that are fans of the series, your mileage may vary, but I think it's worth it if you want to re-experience these games, this is the way to do it. I don't think I could go back to the PlayStation 3 versions of these games now that I've played the remaster. And so far from what I've read, you know, I mean, I haven't finished each of the games yet because I've only had the collection for a couple days, but it doesn't seem like there's any like huge technical hiccups later on in the games. Everything I'm reading has been very positive about the presentation and the technical aspects of it, so this is kind of a no-brainer. I think if you got some time in your gaming schedule before like Fallout, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, or Call of Duty, or whatever your flavor is, this is something that's well worth looking into. And I think if you like the action-adventure genre, this will get you through till whatever game you're looking forward to comes out, or even next year if you hit a lull. This will be a good collection to go through until Tomb Raider comes out for PlayStation 4, which I think will be next holiday season. All in all, in closing, if you're a fan of the series or you're a fan of these types of games and you have a PlayStation 4, you cannot go wrong with this collection. $60 is netting you 3 fantastic games. Very solid games. Minor flaws here and there, but no game's perfect. And, you know, some people tell you the third game sucked or whatever. The third game had some very solid mechanics, same mechanics that were in the other 2. They eventually, on the PlayStation 3 version, they eventually did fix some things with the gunplay. I can't remember the exact details, but there was something there that they ended up patching later on to make it more akin to Uncharted 2. The third game is a solid experience. I thought it was a good game. I think some of the criticisms leveled at it were, this was a game that was following Uncharted 2, arguably one of the biggest and most well-received games of the last generation. So there was no way that Uncharted 3 was going to like beat that or even really meet that type of hype. if it would have came out before Uncharted 2, probably would have been a different story. Probably wouldn't have been as much backlash towards the game, but it's still a very good entry into the series. And like I said, for $60, 3 fantastic games, you can't go wrong. And that's really all there is to say about it. I was really impressed, and HD remasters have been kind of hit and miss with me, but this is one that I'm thoroughly enjoying, and that's all there is to say about it for now. So until next time, guys, I want to thank everybody for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Alright, have a good one.